Okay, everyone, welcome back. We got a big week of baseball. A lot of exciting things happen. We got a bunch of big storylines to cover. First, obviously, just want to say like, comment, subscribe, do all that YouTube things. Whenever I do that, I've noticed I kind of throw my hands out like that. I don't know why, but if you like it, if you like it, like, comment, subscribe, do all those other things, YouTube, et cetera, et cetera. Also, a little PSA I want to start with. Wear sunscreen. Summer has officially started, and I have a sunburn that's really bad on the back of my legs, like the inseam of my knee. And it hurts. And when you shower, the water just goes kind of right on it. So I'm not really standing a chance with what I got to deal with right now. So my PSA before we start the episode is wear sunscreen. So you guys want to write that one down, go for it.
We should either get a sunscreen sponsor or an aloe sponsor.
Well, aloe is kind of like a little plan B situation, but so I'm going to go with sunscreen.
Aloe is plan B for sunburn.
My whole thing is preventative maintenance right now. So I'm going to be wearing sunscreen for, I think, every day for the rest of my life, just in case, because this burn is killing me slowly. Also, me and Nick accidentally wore the same shirts today. So you're the pitcher by accident. I guess Rob Manfred kind of said the same thing. That on chat. You got that one, Nick?
Yeah. Also, speaking of, I'll just start off the show with this. Fuck Rob Manfred. I was watching the Met game before. Yankees are off tonight, and they had somebody who's head of the foundation for, I believe, it was testicular cancer. It was one of the more male common forms of cancer, and they have a promotion going on with MLB and certain teams, specifically the Mets in this case, where for every home run hit, they get a certain amount donated towards the cause. So Rob Manfred, is he pro cancer for dejuicing the baseballs? A little fucked up.
Someone write that down. That's a take right there. I don't know if we can legally leave that in the episode, but it's something to consider. I mean,
I'm not saying he is pro cancer, but I'm not saying he's not.
That's our what the fuck Rob Manfred of the week.
The tuxedos seem a little fucked up now.
The tuxedos seem a little fucked up right now. All right, we'll jump right into it. We got to start with the New York Yankees, as we often do, but this week feels a little different. 33-32. Fourth in the division, game behind the Blue Jays in third place, 8.5 back of the Rays. I mean, 8.5 feels like the time to hit the panic button for me. It kind of feels like we've been saying for like 3 months now, or I guess 2 months, give or take, that like, okay, Yankee season starts tomorrow. This upcoming series, like Yankee season starts tomorrow. And it's kind of starting to feel like a little diet starts tomorrow situation where like, the diet's not going to start. Like the Yankee season is not going to start. Like we're starting to really get to that situation. I think 8.5 games back is that point in the season where it's kind of like, okay, this is a problem. And I feel like we've been saying it week after week after week. And it's like, okay, yeah, we'll get them next series. It's fine. We'll go 5-1 this week, or we'll go 4-2, whatever it is, we'll kind of start to build something back up. And it hasn't really happened yet. We kind of felt a little momentum with that Twin series. Chapman hurt us there. And then things just kind of get spiraling against the Phillies. So, I mean, Nick, where are you at right now? I'm in the diet starts tomorrow phase right now, and the diet's not starting.
Yeah, I've officially pushed the panic button. Listen, I don't need to go through every aspect of this team. I had a literal 5-minute rant about this team last week. Like I went to clip it and I was like, wow, I can't even even if I did 2 tweets, it wouldn't all fit. Look, I feel like we've been on this really since the season started, that this Yankee team doesn't believe in momentum. They kind of took an NBA load management approach to this season. And you and I have always been on the same page where it's like, I get it. I'm not saying throw Garrett Cole 120 pitches in May. We're not saying use Aroldis Chapman 3 days in a row. But at a certain point, you can't just openly punt games where you have a chance to build on and sweep a team or win 4 in a row or 5 in a row. And then now that they're in a spot where it's like, shit, we actually need to win 7 of 10, 8 of 10. They're just not able to rip off that many wins. That's a perfect analogy. You have diet starts tomorrow, where it's like, you can't just flip the switch to eating, grilled chicken and working out 6 times a week if you've been sitting on the couch eating like shit for the past 6 months. At a certain point, it matters what you've done in the past to try and figure it out in the future. So is 8.5 an insurmountable number? No. Like, do I think the Rays and the Red Sox will keep up this level of play? No. But at the same time, do I think the Yankees are hungry enough and able enough to overcome that? And do I think the Rays and Red Sox are bad enough to give that up? No, I really don't. So I don't know. I'm kind of at a crossroads. I guess, the next 25 games till the All-Star break are really going to be telling, because it is buy or sell. And as frustrating as it is that that's a question right now, it really is, because the playoffs are far from a lock for this team.
Yeah, and Nick, you bring up the great point. I wanted to, mention that. I've seen a lot of people being like, okay, sell now while Judge's value is high. Like they're doing that stuff. No, I saw one logical take. It's like, if there was ever a time to build around Aaron Judge while he's, hitting well, maybe hopefully Stan comes back around, does what he does a little bit. If there was ever a time to just go for it right now, it's like right now, like to just be like, okay, we need to win. Let's trade everything. Like, if you're not going to like pick it up in the next 20 games, like go make that trade, go make that Starling Marte trade right now, whatever it actually winds up being. Go do it right now. Don't wait until the All-Star break when the price is a little bit lower. You don't have that luxury right now, because you're 8.5 games back, because you wanted to punt games, because the third game of whatever, the Orioles series in fucking May didn't mean anything to you. Guess what? It means something now that you're 8.5 back. You'd be above the Blue Jays. You didn't punt that game. If you didn't, punt a sweep against the Rays, I think it was. There was one game where they punted that. Like, if you didn't take those 1 or 2 games for granted, like, guess what? You'd probably be above the Blue Jays. You wouldn't be in a situation where you're almost desperate, because you were supposed to be the best team in baseball, or best team in the American League at least this year. You wouldn't be desperate yet if you didn't punt all those games. And now you're having the buy or sell conversation, and you have to be a buyer like today, like June 15th, you have to be a buyer. It's not July 31st at the deadline when you're already, if you're lucky, you're still 8.5 back at this point,
Mm-hmm. No, I'm with you. And I think if there's any reason for optimism over this past week, and I said even after Chapman blew the save against the Twins, I was like, you know what, that's literally the worst game of his career. Like, it's going to happen. Like, Aroldis Chapman's blown 2 saves up to this point, and we're, it's June 14th. I'm okay with that. Like, it is what it is. It sucks to not win that last Twins game, but whatever. But the bats have finally started to come around. You have Andujar establishing himself as the everyday left fielder. Judge is still raking. Stanton, who, that's another thing where we're on the topic of, you need to start actually trying to win games instead of being like, oh, whatever. Giancarlo Stanton needs to be in the lineup those 2 days in Philadelphia this weekend. I don't care if you give him a fucking lawn chair and have him sit in left field. The guy finally heats up after they slow play him like idiots for the first 2 weeks. He comes back off the aisle, heats up, gets red hot in Minnesota, and now he's probably going to look like shit again the next couple of days, because he just had 4 days off, 4 days off in a row, 4 days off in a row, because they didn't play Friday and they didn't play today. So it's so stupid. But Gary's hitting now. DJ's showing signs of life. Glaber's been all right. Gio's cooled off a little bit. I'm not worried about him. So, like, theoretically, the offense is going to come around. It just so happens the rotation had their worst turn of the season just now. So, like, the news about Sevy sucks. So, is this team completely out of it? No, but you're right. Get a center fielder here right now. Brett Gardner cannot play every day. He hasn't been the problem on this team, the biggest problem at least, but you need a real center fielder in here. The lineup is showing you a pulse. Get some help and try and turn this thing around now, because if you wait till July 31st, it will be too late.
Yeah. And I mean, I remember this was like, geez, I don't even remember. I think it was the year after the Blue Jays had that crazy Josh Donaldson and Texas Rangers series. Bautista hit that huge home run. And the year after, they were still supposed to be a pretty solid team. So I think that would have been like 2016 or 2017, right around that range. And they started the season. They got 8 games back. It was like early May. Like, they had like a pitiful start, and they never made their way back. They never made their way back, because 8 games is not nothing. Like, if you go on a 5-game winning streak, which I would consider to be pretty successful. If the Rays win 2 of those games, you only make up 3. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be like you're going to win 10 in a row and you're automatically back in it. So, like, it's got to be like a situation where you have to focus on it right now and try to get some depth for the rest of the season, so that, like, at least you can make a 4-game dent, go 2 back, a 5-game dent, go 2 game. It's now that you're 8.5, it's going to be like that classic 1 step forward, 2 step back type situation.
And it sucks too, because what I just said, like, I think this is the first time the entire season where it's like the lineup, and they got shut out yesterday, but whatever. The lineup has been consistently stringing together production in consecutive games. So, like, at least you have that going for you. But at the same time, it makes it all the more frustrating that they didn't take advantage of the starting pitching producing at a historic level a couple weeks ago. Like, and this week too, you go 2-3 against the Twins and the Phillies, two teams that the Yankees are better than, should be better than. The Red Sox lost to all three to the Astros, or two or three to the Astros, and 2 or 3 of the Blue Jays. Yankees had a chance to regain some ground this week. They didn't do it. So at a certain point, you need to start treating it like, there's some urgency there, but I just get the sense that there's not any, because Cashman's job isn't on the line, and maybe Boone's job is on the line. Who knows what the internal conversations are there?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen any. I mean, Cashman, I don't think will ever say like someone's job is on the line.
No, he would never.
That would never happen. I mean, just because Yankees Twitter is putting him, on a stake right now, saying like fire Boone. I mean, we said it last week. I still don't think that that's going to happen. It just seems too improbable, unless like they go on like a historic losing streak and they have to like literally like sell at the deadline because they're so bad. That's the only situation I could see him. Yeah.
The only way I could see Boone going is if it's like August, they've sold off a couple pieces at the deadline because they're so far out of it. And it's like a ploy to try and get the fans back on their side and get, sell some tickets to the August and September games. Like, that's really it. Like, there's this, like, there's no chance. Like, if anything, it'll be like to satisfy the fans who are furious at them for selling, which would be me. So like,
at what point would you stop buying tickets? At what would their record have to be in order for you to actually like almost like protest the New York Yankees? Would you ever get to that point?
If they're like mathematically out of the playoffs, like if we're in August and they're like 13 games back, then I don't think I'm going to games. But at the same time, I who knows? I might still go to 1 or 2 more. Like, I don't know. Like, I went a whole year without going to baseball games. Like, that's why when I hate people who are like, oh, like boycott the Yankees, like, it's not going to fucking matter. Like, they're going to sell plenty of tickets. Like, the Knicks sell out every game. Like, there's tourists, there's people that go to Yankee games, there's casual fans who don't give, a shred of a shit really about how the team is doing. They just started watching in 2017. Like, people are still going to go to games and be like, I enjoy going to games. Like, I'm not giving up my personal enjoyment to make a not even real dent in Hal Steinbrenner's pockets. So like, and the crazy thing is, I don't blame Hal Steinbrenner. He's put out the second highest payroll. Like, if the Yankees were one move away and it was like, oh, they won't get this guy, like, fine. But like, they're 8.5 back with the team Cashman built, the second highest payroll. Like, my blame can't be on Hal right now. It just can't.
I thought this the other day, and I'm like, that's a little ridiculous thing to myself, because I don't think Cashman would ever go. But do you think that Hal set this limit because he knows 210, like he went pretty much right up to it. 210's a lot. One of the highest payrolls in baseball still. Do you think he set that limit for Cashman to be like, I need to see if you can put together a winning team? Like, and the actuality of it, Nick, you've said it before, Cashman he's built successful regular season teams. He hasn't had all the world of success in the playoffs. I know we're spoiled as Yankee fans that our teams are in the playoffs every year, but in terms of what he's given in terms of actual payroll, like, what has he produced? Do you think that Hal almost put his foot down a little bit and said, no, I'm not spending more. I need to see if you can build a championship team with 210, like, do you think that conversation kind of happened internally?
Is that crazy to say? I mean, like, would I like the idea that the Yankees are, going, abiding by this, what's essentially a fake salary cap? I get that the luxury tax, you lose a draft pick and whatever, who fucking cares? Like, no, I don't love that idea. But at the same time, I think Michael Kay said it last year. If you're Hal Steinbrenner, why are you sitting there saying, oh, I'll spend 260, 280 or $300 million on a team when the Rays just fucking took us out of the playoffs and they're spending like $55, $60 million? So like, I'm not saying you need to find a GM that can get it done with that kind of shoestring budget, because the way the Rays run things as good as they are, it's got to be infuriating to be a Rays fan. Like, come to like a guy, and the second he's starts to dip off a little bit, he's gone. So no, I wouldn't want that. But yeah, I understand why, if you're Hal Steinbrenner, it's like, why should I have to spend more money? Maybe this guy just can't get the job done.
Yeah, it's kind of almost like a prove it deal for Cashman, Like, all right, I'm not giving you more money. Prove to me you can do this,
Because
as of right now, he's proving he can.
And listen, has he ever, like, listen, I'm not trying to be the guy that's saying, "Oh, Cashman, like, what has he done?" Brian Cashman is a good general manager. Like, if the Yankees fired him, there would be plenty of teams lining up to hire him. He's a good general manager, but he really doesn't get credit for the '90s dynasty, or at least he didn't build it. Like, yes, he supplanted and added to it, the Clemenses, the David Justices to get those teams over the hump, and that should be
but that's
praised.
yeah.
But he didn't build it. He didn't build that core. He didn't do anything to get that core over the hump, from 2001 to 2008. They were a failure completely in 2008. Then in 2009, they kind of just threw money at the problem. And I know people like to say, "Oh, buying championships." I don't give a fuck, but they really did throw money at the problem. And that's what people want them to do every year. He kind of tried to take that approach again, 2013. It didn't work at all. And now he's turned it around, but he hasn't got them over the hump. So, like, Brian Cashman's never built a championship winning team. Like, even the 2009 core, like, those weren't all his guys. Like Jeter, A-Rod, like, that's not like a Brian Cashman find or move. So, like, I don't know. This is Cashman's core. This was his chance where, like, in 2016, you really felt like he was finally running the show. Like, it was his guys, his prospects, his moves, and he did a more than admirable job turning it around. But if he can't get this core over the top, then what is he still doing here?
Yeah, and that's kind of where I think that Hal kind of put his foot down. Is like, okay, Brian, like, it's been 20 years, like, do something. Do something with $210 million, I mean, I know if we were playing the show, we would have traded for Bryce Harper by now. You know what I mean? We would have done that 2 weeks ago. We would have some pitcher who's throwing a 1.5 ERA. He'd be our ace right now. You know what I mean? Trade the farm at this point.
100%.
Win now. We're in win now mode.
And we didn't do that. I'm about it. Last point, but, like, it's almost because he had so much job security. I think that he just doesn't make, like, the desperation move because he's, like, too afraid to lose a trade. Like, it should be.
Yeah, I remember I said that. Yeah.
I wish he was like, you know what? I wish he was like, I had the job security. Let me just, like, go for it right now. And if it doesn't pan out, it doesn't pan out. But I don't know if he's just like the Houston Astros, who, won 2 pennants in a World Series. They added an ace 3 seasons in a row with Verlander, Cole, Greinke. The Red Sox traded Yoel Moncada and Michael Kopech, who were their 2 top prospects, to get Chris Sale, go get an ace. And now you have, the Rays, who, like we said before, they're a completely different category. But, like, they always trade guys at their peak value, whether it's Blake Snell or, like, anyone else. Like once the Rays think that they are kind of squeezed the best years out of them, they'll trade them for prospects while they still have good value. Like, Cashman does none of that. He doesn't make any bold moves or trades. He sits on all of his prospects until they either come up and produce or fizzle out into nothing. Like, Chance Adams was, like, a guy that had a lot of trade value 5 years ago, and now he's out of baseball. So it's like, that just happens too much for me. Like, people are like, "Oh, well, Cashman," like, I had someone today, like, "Oh, well, Cashman didn't trade Judge, Sanchez and Severino in 2013 to the Braves." Like, yeah, good for him. But, like, honestly, he doesn't trade anybody. So, like, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. I mean, the last prospect I can remember being upset about leaving was James Caprillion. He's kind of turned into something legit. Like, that's, like, the first guy that I've seen, like, actually turn into something and be like, okay, maybe Cashman lost that trade.
That was, like, the boldest trade he's made. And I'm pretty sure it was Blake Rutherford had just blown, or was it Blake Rutherford had blown his knee out?
Yeah.
Blake Rutherford was in the White Sox trade. I don't know.
Dustin Fowler.
Dustin Fowler blew his knee out. He was in that trade. So it was like, all right, like, I guess that's not really, like, that
really
crazy
coming off like a
right
Tommy John and a labrum, I think it was.
It was Dustin Fowler, James Caprillion, who was coming off some kind of surgery. I think you just said Tommy John, and then Jorge Mateo, who was, like, another kind of top. But also Jorge Mateo was like, well, we have Gleyber Torres, so, like, who cares? So, like, that was Cashman's biggest nuts on the table trade. When you look back at it, like, it really wasn't even that crazy to give up any of those guys.
And he got like a number 3 starter. I guess a number 2.
He got Sonny Gray. That's
Sonny Gray.
That's an admirable move. And, like, you know what? I'm not going to rip him for the Sonny Gray trade because he tried. Like, that was like, I'm going to get in a frontline pitcher. I have a good team. And then after that one, I think he, like, kind of got, I don't want to say burned, but, like, it didn't work out the way he thought. And he just kind of never tried again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it kind of went at it a little bit with Paxton, but that was also, Paxton was very available on the market. It wasn't as deep as Sonny Gray because he was a hot target at the deadline.
And Paxton, same thing. Like, I'm glad he went for it with Paxton. Like, James Paxton was one of the better pitchers we've had, at least in terms of guys Cashman goes after. Like, I liked him a lot. He had high upside. Got injured the second year, didn't work out. But, like, you know what? Like, when you're a championship window, you go for it like that, and he just doesn't do it.
Yeah. So let's move on to a team that is actually above expectations right now. The Chicago Cubs just swept the St. Louis Cardinals. They are tied for first place right now with the Brewers, who are also 9-1 in their last 10. They've been unreal. Willie Adames has a .8 WAR already with the Brewers in his time. I think it's been like he's been there for 3 weeks. Like he's been one of the like one of the best players in baseball, like a top 5 shortstop since he's gone over there. Yelich is back. Pitching obviously there is just unreal. So the Cubs are at the top of the NL Central now with the Brewers. To the sweep of the Cardinals. Cardinals kind of fell into mediocrity. They're sitting around that 500 mark. But I mean, I think the story here is definitely the Chicago Cubs and the fact that they were supposed to be huge sellers. And I mean, at the place they're at right now, they need to be buyers. I mean, at the deadline, assuming that they kind of keep up this pace, which I don't really see any reason why they shouldn't. Chris Bryant is playing like the MVP. Rizzo's playing good enough. Baez playing good enough. Contreras playing good enough. And Patrick Wisdom, who's been just kind of been thrown around at third base, kind of similar to David Bodie was a few years ago. He has like 8 home runs. He's played in like some stupid, not like 10 games, but like he's played in like some stupid low amount of games. He came up later in the season. Jock Peterson has been unreal. Kyle Hendricks is back. He's a real pitcher again. I mean, the Cubs are kind of the story of the MLB this season, and not too many people are talking about how they've really done a full 360 of being the team that was supposed to sell off their core. And, now they're kind of in like a last dance situation where it's like, okay, a lot of these guys are free agents or have the potential to move on at the end of the season with like opt-outs or, whatever it may be. And, maybe they go for it this year and just say, fuck it. Let's have our last go for it with this core.
Yeah, I did not see this coming. I was actually looking back at our preseason picks the other day. I'm doing horrible. I had the Cubs were my National League under 79.5 wins. The Braves were my over. So my picks are in shambles. But no.
Wait, before you say mine are actually doing really good. I had Twins under and Nationals under. So
yeah, you had Twins under, Nationals under, which is good. I have them right in front of me right now. And you have Brewers over 82.5 too, which is good. And then Mariners over 72.5, which I'm pretty sure should be
good. Yeah, that'll
well. And then my other ones, I had Astros over 86.5, which I think should be good. Angels under 83.5. I know they've been hot, but I still think they're not going to hit that. And and those are all mine. So you're definitely looking better than me at this point. But no, I didn't, like I said, I didn't think they had enough pitching. I'm glad Kyle Hendricks is back to, his form, because early in the season, I had my 2 darlings this offseason. I wanted Luis Castillo or Kyle Hendricks to be Yankee. They both started off completely horrible. So I'm glad to see Hendricks, back, regressing to the mean a little bit. But I thought he would be a guy that would be available this deadline. He's not going to be. The Cubs are going to be this good. So I guess it's really going to be a tough decision for them. Like, people try and say like, oh, is it going to be tough for the Yankees to buy or sell? This is tough for the Cubs, especially because
they won with these guys. They won with these guys. Like the Super World Series. I broke a curse with these guys.
The Yankees, I get it. Like I saw some like trade Judge stuff today. Like I don't see them trading Aaron Judge, but it's like the Cubs, like you said, not only are these guys, franchise heroes, the Baez, Bryant, and Rizzo, broke the curse. Their contracts are all about to expire. So it's like, even if you wanted to, I don't think they're keeping all of these guys. So like that's so tough to me. Like, do you think that there's a chance they trade one and maybe get back a guy with a little bit of control that, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to keep all 3 of those guys through the deadline or sell off. It's going to be really interesting to see. I don't know.
And this is what I was thinking about the same thing. Like these guys were supposed to be sellers. Now they're most likely in a situation where they're going to have to be buyers. Their number 2 right now is like Zach Davies. Like, I mean, that really is not a good playoff rotation. Kyle Hendricks, Zach Davies, like that's a problem. You're going to lose. I don't care how good you're hitting, you're going to lose those games. I don't care how good your bullpen is. Zach Davies can't start a playoff game. That can't happen. Especially coming off of Hendricks. They're both the same exact pitcher. So it's not going to like offset anything in terms of the lineup. So, I mean, my theory with the Cubs is they're probably going to have to trade one of those guys. And if they're still competing around the trade deadline, maybe you get back 2 arms. You know what I mean? Maybe you get back a good arm, you attach a good prospect, and maybe you have a 2 and a 3 that you feel a little bit more confident. Maybe you get rid of Rizzo. Maybe there's a first baseman or, maybe you move Bryant back to third. You move Bryant to first base now that Wisdom is playing so well. Bryant's flexibility really helps them a lot defensively. But I feel like you got to trade one of these guys that is expiring in the hopes of maybe adding to your starting pitching depth a little bit. That's the most logical thing for me to think, unless you're just saying fuck it,
It's just super interesting, dude, because I don't know, if you look at the National League, especially, you're talking about in a series, you're competing against Bauer, Buehler, Kershaw, or you're competing against, Darvish, Snell, Musgrove, or you're competing against, the Mets. You have, DeGrom, Stroman, Walker, and then maybe either Syndergaard or Carrasco. That is going to be a crazy arms race just to come out of the National League with the pennant.
Not even talking about the Braves, who have one of the best offenses, assuming they fucking figure it out.
And if the Braves offense can get any semblance of figuring it out, you're talking, Fried, Morton, and Anderson. So I don't know. It's just but do they look at this?
Yeah, and then you have the Brewers with the best pitching rotation, arguably in baseball. Outside of the Dodgers, maybe.
Exactly. No, and you're right. Yeah, and Corbin Burns and Brandon Woodruff, Freddie Peralta. They're going to be tough in a series too if they make the playoffs. So I don't know. I think it's a tough sell to their fan base. If they're sitting in first place even by a game on July 31st, can you sell those guys, those franchise heroes, and not have your fans be pissed at you? I don't know. Maybe they just say, fuck it, we'll add a couple small pieces and make one more run at, go trade for I don't know. I'm trying to think a Kevin Gossman or something if the Giants fall out of it. I don't know. Maybe that's their approach, but it's really going to be interesting to see, because this was not something I foresaw. I thought that they were going to be a mid-70s win team and be selling off, honestly, within the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, well, they've got lucky. I mean, Arrieta hasn't been anything special this year, but I mean, he's pitched well enough. I think he's got a 4.5 ERA. He's pitched well enough to be okay, this guy isn't the worst thing in baseball anymore, based on what he did with the Phillies. So I mean, they've gotten lucky with kind of how their back end of the starting rotation has pitched has been good enough. So I mean, and their offense has carried them. So I mean, I don't know. It's really going to be I think that's going to be the storyline at the around the deadline. Obviously people are going to be talking about the Yankees, whether or not they pick it up, and what the hell they're going to do. The Red Sox are going to maybe be in on another arm. So I mean, there's going to be a lot of people talking about arms, and I think the Cubs are going to be one of those people that need to consider, trading one of their franchise names to, get above these guys that also need, top arms in rotation to get someone like Gausman or, whoever winds up being available at the time.
Absolutely. If the Yankees are the toughest buy or sell decision in the American League, it's far and away the Cubs in the National League. I think that's going to be really intriguing to see. And if they do try and sell off, I'm really wondering what Chris Bryant's value is going to be. He's playing like an MVP again. He plays left field. He plays third base. He's a fit for any team trying to make the playoffs. So it's going to be really interesting to watch.
When was the last time, and I know Bryant, maybe I don't want to say is the MVP, but when was the last time an MVP type got traded at the deadline? I really can't remember that. I guess Verlander, a waivers trade, but he was not really supposed to be what he was,
Machado in 2018, I think, is the biggest bat to get moved at the deadline for sure.
Yeah, I that's a good one. I couldn't think of that. That's actually pretty solid. Good answer.
Thank you.
Good answer. The Angels are hot right now. Believe it or not, they're back at 500, which seems like a victory for them. And they're doing without Mike Trout. Anthony Rendon hit his first home run since May 4th. He's over 300 in June. He's got 16 RBIs. Raisel Iglesias has been really good, with the exception of a single blown save that from the other night. He's been one of the better closers in baseball. Jared Walsh has thankfully been good. Otherwise, Angels ownership would have been ridiculed for getting rid of Albert Pujols in his retirement tour. Good for Albert Pujols. He's also been playing well with the Dodgers too. So I think that wound up being a pretty solid divorce. But I mean, I'm kind of excited to see the Angels at least be relatively competitive. Without Mike Trout, it kind of means that for the past 11 years, he's been putting them on, he's been putting the whole Angels on his back. Now they can kind of at least get back to 500 without him, and maybe you can take him like 3 or 4 games over, and we can have a Mike Trout September conversation for the first time ever.
No, exactly. I'm excited to see them winning games. I mean, Shohei Ohtani is the most entertaining player in baseball this year. It's been awesome. I didn't even think about that for Jared Walsh. Like, realistically, you're just like, all right, Pujols has passed his time here. He's not producing. We want to see what we have in this kid. It shouldn't put more pressure on Jared Walsh, but it definitely did if you think about it, just because from a natural perspective, like I saw the Angels got so much backlash for releasing Pujols, who I thought was so fucking stupid from the start. Like he won nothing there. They paid him more than enough money, and he got a chance to catch on somewhere else. So I think, ever since he signed with the Dodgers, people kind of stopped shitting on the Angels for that. But it's a no-brainer, release him, let him go somewhere else, play the kid. And that definitely put pressure on Jared Walsh, and he's made the most of it. So listen, I hope we're talking in August and September about the Angels playing meaningful games and seeing Mike Trout get to play in some important games down the stretch. I just still don't see it. I still don't think I know they've been hot. I don't see it.
When you have to get this hot just to get back to 500, you're probably not going to, get too far with it. They don't have the pitching for it, but I'm just excited to be okay, Angels, please. Stay at 500, please. Just so you're in the second or third wild card spot situation or whatever the fucking playoffs are now.
That's the difference between them and the Yankees is the Yankees going on a run involves their lineup regressing to the mean and just playing normally. The Angels going on this run was everyone just playing out of their minds. So
batting 370 in June.
Who knows though?
Back at 32 and 32.
You said it. Listen, Anthony Rendon's one of the better hitters in baseball. I think I saw the other day his OPS was 658. So if you get him doing what he normally does, if you get Trout back, maybe they just mash their way to the playoffs. It's not impossible.
Yeah, they would be literally the last spot, and it would be Andrew Heaney throwing game 1, and then someone else throwing game 2. I don't
lineup is
I was trying to think of someone who they could possibly get, but there's nobody that would want to that the Angels would make the move for because they just simply don't know how to do it. I was just about to say maybe they're in on Kevin Gausman or something like that, but let's be honest, they're not.
Imagine Garrett Cole having to go up against a Trout, Ohtani, Rendon, Jared Walsh lineup in a wild card game. That would be horrifying.
That would be horrifying, but I mean, let's be honest, probably not going to happen. But we can hold our excitement and hope that they play the White Sox or something like that.
Yeah, why not?
Nick, did you have your not safe for work?
Yeah, so mine was my good buddy Mike Tauchman. He hasn't been crushing it with the bat with the Giants, but one thing you're going to get from Mike Tauchman day in, day out is elite defense. We saw this with the Yankees. He had the one iconic home run in Baltimore that he robbed. He robs Juan Soto here, which I know we talk about this for not safe for work all the time. Circumstance just makes it so much better. So it's a 1-0 game in the 7th inning. You have Juan Soto, one of the best players in baseball, hits an opposite field drive, which how many guys are cranking opposite field home runs with these dead balls? Not many. And Mike Tauchman goes up and gets it to keep the 1-run lead. So that was definitely not safe for work.
Yeah. I actually have a home run robbery myself. It was bottom of the 9th, Tigers, Mariners. Who would have thought that would be an interesting moment? But the guy, Isaac Paredes, I'm sorry, I don't know who he is, hits the ball to left field and home run robbery, double play, bottom of the 9th. Unreal play, awesome. But I think the call itself was even worse. Listen to the guy and how the announcer. Let me press. Can you hear it? To left field, Fraley leaps in. Do you want me to play that back? Did you hear that? Ah!
No, I heard it.
That was home run robbery, double play, bottom of 9th, as cool as it gets. That call was not safe for work. The call itself is not safe for work. Just horrible, but also very entertaining. I love when broadcasters just lose themselves in the actual moment and they're it's you're what you're really supposed to do, be oh my god, he caught the ball, and not but good job. Not safe. Love it. All right, anything else?
No, nothing else.
All right, good show. Let's go Yankees. Maybe they figure it out. Diet starts tomorrow.
Later, skaters.
Peace.